Hello, and welcome to the Tried It podcast, your proven pathway to a better copywriting business. I am one of your hosts, Sarah, and I'm here today with my fabulous co-host.
Hi, I'm Nicole. I'm, as Sarah said, the other half of this wonderful podcast. And today's a really, really cool episode because it's an implementation episode. And it's not just any implementation episode. We have a special guest with us.
We are joined by Justin Blackman of Brand Voice Academy. He has kindly agreed to come back and be with us for the second half of the episode after we all met virtually about a month ago. So welcome back to the Tried It podcast, Justin.
Yeah, it was an easy yes to say, to come back to this one and say yes.
That is very flattering to hear. Thank you very much.
No, I had a great time on the last one. So it's fun. I love the fact that we're actually following up to see like what worked and what didn't. I like that we're get to be a little more transparent and show what's actually happening.
We like to open a loop on the podcast and then close it again and see how we can apply techniques that we've learned from copywriting books in our actual copywriting businesses, because it doesn't always go the way that you think it's going to go, honestly. We've had some ups and downs.
Yeah, we really have.
So today we are following up on the book that we read for the last episode, which is The Referral Engine by John Jantsch. So Nicole, if you had to explain the book quickly to, say, another copywriter, how would you go about it?
So I would say it's a refreshing take on marketing your business as an inbound marketing specifically, as opposed to, different content marketing strategies as a way of attracting new clients. You focus on referrals, but not just referrals with a framework and with a very structured process built into your business as a way of attracting the right kind of customers who become your raving fans, who then refer your business, which is a very refreshing and original take on marketing, something that both Sarah and I said that we've, not really tried or thought of. And it's, I think, a new way of, even though the book isn't new, it's a new way of thinking for me about marketing my business.
Yes, it's definitely a different way of thinking about referrals. It's almost like reverse engineering the process to get referrals into your business right from the beginning. And John is writing for a wide audience. So I would say like a wide range of businesses, not just copywriters or even online service providers. So it's definitely an interesting read, and I will drop the link to the book in the show notes because we are very grateful that there are authors out there who write these books and put them out in the world so that we can read them and learn from them. So if you're listening to this episode and you're curious about the book, you'll be able to buy it and also support the author and thank them for the hard work that they did. So that's a very excellent high-level summary of the book. But I think that going through this implementation process, as I said, we get to know it differently. So, Justin, is there anything that's changed in how you feel about the referral engine now you've taken some of the principles and applied them to your business? Have you evolved in any way?
Well, I think in the last call, we spoke about how not a lot of what's in the book is really applicable to what we do. There's some like e-com businesses and like products and things like that. So we probably removed about 30% of the book right off the bat. As far as what was there, I had some of the stuff just didn't work the way that I wanted it to. And some of the like asking people for within supplemental services to, kind of talk to me or refer me based off of additional needs. It didn't really work the way that I expected it to, or it wasn't as easy as the book made it seem. Not that I expected it to be, but it also just made me realize that some of the messaging that I had on my site needs more warming up. And my stuff's never really converted very well to cold traffic. And I think it spotlighted that problem that I have. And Granted, it's not cold. It was coming in semi-warm, but it wasn't like a bleeding neck problem that my stuff just instantly solved for people. So there were some challenges that I had with that. And I had to think about, like, is this going to work for me or is there another approach? And I did find something that actually worked pretty well. And I don't know if I want to jump into that right now or save it for a little bit, but I did have to tweak a couple of things and then figure out what actually the best service to refer me for was. And it wasn't exactly what I thought it would be.
Ooh, excellent teaser.
It's almost like I'm a writer.
Yeah. You're bringing those heavyweight copywriting skills. I think we've had this experience before, you and I, Nicole, where you read a book and there are some ideas that that you take from the book that seem like a slam dunk, and then when you try them out, it's just not the same.
And also often there's this gap between the theory or the big idea and the implementation, which is like what we find. There's this tension, which I think we're always trying to resolve between, wow, it's an amazing idea, but it doesn't maybe work for me or with my business.
I think also there are other things that you can get from the book from trying things out. Yeah. As we say with the Tried It podcast, really the only way that you're going to know if it works is if you try it. So that's the whole point of the second episode. So in the spirit of honesty and transparency and sharing what worked and what didn't work, Justin, would you mind starting with your implementation points that you've been working on and just giving us a quick reminder of the 3 goals that you set yourself last time we recorded?
All right. So looking at these, there actually is one thing that I did focus on and do right. So my 3 goals were, 1, to speak to more groups and masterminds about my services rather than pitch them directly, to get in there and offer some value and attract people to me that way, rather than just have others tell people about me. It was for me to offer value to people directly and have them get to know me. And the other thing was I was going to create an onboarding sequence for these elements as well. So when I do speak to people, I can kind of talk about my premise and then create a specific onboarding sequence that will go to that. And then the third element was to get a little bit more serious about tracking these things and put metrics behind it. Because you do what you measure. There's a fancier, pithier line for that. You matter what measures. I think that you measure what matters.
Yeah,
that's what
I was gonna say. I was gonna say you leisure what you measure. So yours is much worse.
There we go. Yeah. So you measure what matters. So right off the bat, I did not do number 3. I have not measured or tracked anything. I have some conversation threads in my inbox, which I guess kind of counts as
well, I mean, obviously there's quantitative measuring, but I think we could call this qualitative measuring now, where you're talking about the feedback that you got and, we can give our ideas about it. So you're kind of just sneaking in under the wire to get that third implementation goal in.
There we go. Yeah. As far as the creating the onboarding sequence, number 2, I did do that. I have a service that I've been tinkering with for a while. And it was actually just this morning I realized, you know what? The message has been working for a small percentage of the group, but not enough. And I realized that my service actually should get split up between different audiences, between solo, personal brands and small teams. I've been trying to shoehorn the message together. And this morning I was just like, you know what? It doesn't work, because I was literally talking to someone who I explained the service to them and they're like, yeah, this is what I need. And then they got to the landing page and wait, I'm confused. I don't think this is what you explained. It was helpful to know that. So I actually just this morning, I created an alternate landing page for the service.
Could I ask, does that entail you having 2 separate welcome sequences then? Or is it that there's a common starter email and then people kind of self-filter, or are you not that evolved in your thinking on it yet?
I haven't gotten that far yet, but now that you say that, I'll probably have to duplicate the sequence and just change the landing page and some of the messaging, because it's a different message. My message for copywriters for Brand Voice Academy is different than some of my services, and my services are different for teams than they are for personal brand. So it's a challenge. It's hard being me. But what I realized is that the referrals, and part of the reasons why, kind of jumping the gun, it hasn't been as successful for me is because I have a few different offers, and coming to my homepage, people aren't sure where to go, and I haven't been able to close as well as I wanted. So, but then the third element, the speaking to groups, that's actually been going pretty well. people are happy to recommend me and refer me to other people who have masterminds or educational groups, and I've been able to do that. The downside to that is a lot of people are booking 3, 4, 5 months in advance, because they'll have like monthly calls and they already have a couple of people lined up, or they have groups that are meeting in like October, and I guess it'd be great for that. So I have not gotten immediate wins from this. I've gotten some okay wins. I've gotten on, a couple of different podcasts and just met a couple of good people, and I've got some things coming up. But to date, like my goal was to get them like 2 a month. I think that will kick in eventually, but it hasn't been like, yes, let's get you in here next week. So that's been a challenge.
That's something that I found generally with pitching to podcasts, especially if it's a bigger podcast, that they're not going to have availability for a guest next week. It's going to be several weeks down the line probably, and then they might have another couple of weeks after that where they have inbuilt editing time. So it's a long game, not a quick win.
Yeah, and that's been what I've discovered, not to my immediate satisfaction, but I'm kind of happy with it, and I know that it'll eventually catch up.
Could I ask, talking about like getting referred to these groups, then is that you sort of tapping your network, or is it you're putting out cold pitches, or because there's a kind of referral element there of you being invited on as the speaker? How has that part come together?
Most of it's been through direct outreach to specific people, other writers who I know, but not just writers, other entrepreneurs who I know. And like, hey, you've been through the service, you understand what I'm doing. I've actually got a message that kind of ties into this. Do you have a group? Are you part of a group who might like to hear this? I have, it's not a pitch. I have a workshop that I can run people through to help you gain a little bit of clarity, put in some new frameworks for your brand voice to understand, how it might be different between you versus your brand. And usually when I say that to people, they're like, oh yeah, actually I know a lot of people that could use this, not the service. I mean, some of them can use the service. I'm not asking them for business. I'm asking them, do you know people who I could help? And I'm not looking for money, and some of the opportunities are paid, and that's great. It's not, it's not going to be Lamborghini money, but it'll buy a good lunch. But it's more just looking for groups, and it's been pretty specific. It's not to say that I shouldn't also post on LinkedIn and say like, hey, I've got a workshop. Do you know anyone? Actually, I think I might have done that. I'm trying to remember if I did that. I think I possibly.
Any technique is a good technique if it gets results. But I think that's that's an interesting approach to sort of, that's also part of the principle of the referral engine.
Definitely.
I think the reason why I did that is I didn't just want to be referred to any group. I wanted to be more specific with where I'm landing. I didn't want to be to people who are like Googling what is copywriting or what is brand voice.
Yeah.
I wanted to be more to a more sophisticated, more aware, more successful audience. So it was deliberate with where I went. I attacked like a sniper with a rifle rather than a shot.
I also feel like the offer lands differently when it comes packaged this way. When you're not actually pitching, when you're offering a workshop or something and you're giving value, it's a very different kind of offer, and you're right, you're reaching different kinds of people at different levels. Which I think is much more powerful.
Yeah, it wasn't a pitch. I'm not asking for a sale. I'm asking, people I could help.
Also, because I'm here and you're here and I'm nosy. One of the principles that John Jantsch mentions in the book is the talkable difference, like something that your business does that's remarkable enough that it's easy for you to explain to other people and for them to retain. And in the last episode, Justin, you touched on that what you do really well, but it's difficult to explain it to people, and then they might not, even if they're your ideal client, they might not be very aware that they have this problem. Have you found a way around that yet, of nailing your talkable difference to people who are in that low awareness state?
Not really. Like, if you don't understand what I do, you're not going to hire me, and you don't need me yet. So I have to get used to that. I have to be okay with that. And I always have been. It's just been a little slower. I mean, to clarify and give this in concrete details, the thing that I'm doing right now is I help people identify their brand voice separately from themselves. In the last 6 months or so, I've had so many friends that have a personal brand that have just they're getting burnt out, and they're like, I don't want my brand to be me anymore. I don't want it to be all encompassing. I want differences. I need borders. I need to protect myself. I don't want to show up the same way that I've always shown up. And I think it's just an age thing where people are getting a little bit more mature and reprioritizing their lives. And certain people are just like, I still want a personal brand. I just don't want it to be this personal anymore. And I think that comes at a certain age, at a certain level of sophistication, or a certain life event has happened to you. There's got to be some type of trigger moment where that happens. And if it hasn't happened yet, if you're 24 years old and full of life and energy, and you just want to, just all this passion is just oozing through your veins, you're not going to get that. And there are people who are all in, and that's awesome. I can help them with their brand voice, but they don't think that they need that, and they might not. There has to be something that happens where they're just like, I don't know how to show up right now, or the way that I've shown up isn't serving me anymore. I need some type of dividing line.
Are these people normally also ready to let go, like in reality? Because there are some people who sort of say, I'm ready to hand off parts of my business to other people, and then they get a little bit micromanagery. Have you also encountered that problem, or are they generally just like, peace out, ciao?
So that's the other thing. That's the teams that I'm working with, which is different than a personal brand. So that's what I was realizing this morning. I was trying to shoehorn all the messages into one, and it just doesn't work. Because that's different between my brand, my team doesn't get it, or I don't want to do this anymore. So there's two different messages. A personal brand, some of us don't even have teams. Or if we do, it's just an occasional freelancer or an admin or something like that. It's not someone who does the writing for us. We're still doing the writing, but we're tired of sharing our entire lives with people. And we just want a little bit more for ourselves. The founders with teams, it's my brand or my team isn't getting the voice right or the brand right. And you're basically creating a bunch of people trying to be like you rather than defining what the brand is. So they're very similar services, but it's a different message.
Do you find that AI has impacted this? Like in people wanting to rebirth their brand online and kind of like actually have a proper voice?
Yes. So everyone's like, it just doesn't sound human. Well, and the fact is a brand isn't human. People are human. A brand is not. A brand is a message, a service, an offer, a sandwich. There's things to it. It can be human-like elements, but it's not human. AI isn't human either. You actually can use AI with a well-defined brand pretty dang well. But with AI, people are saying it doesn't get my voice right. But what they're actually realizing is that it's more than that. It's you haven't defined your voice in a way that is applicable for AI tools with vocabulary, tone, cadence frameworks. But AI usually misses your viewpoints and your stance and your values. Defining that so there's your values, and then there's also your brand values, and those can be different. My brand values are, I look for an unusual insight. It's usually a little contradictory. Like, I don't just talk about the same things as everybody. I want to take a backward approach to something. I don't do that in my everyday. Curiosity is a personal value. The things that I find in my life show up as answers in my brand. My brand is insightful. My personality is curious. Understanding what those two are and defining that will actually get you better AI results. If I say I'm a curious person, AI is going to start asking a bunch of questions in my copy. I don't want that. I don't ask questions in my copy. I give answers. So it's not just the voice, it's understanding the perspective and how much of that is coming into play. And now there are ways of documenting. That's actually what my services do for people. it's not just about like the words that you use, it's about the approach that you take. And to me, that's the thing that we're finding is usually off. We're lumping it under voice, but it's not. It's the view.
Genuinely fascinating. I feel like I could carry on asking you questions about this all day, but I would like to ask, what do you think that you'll do going forward in terms of the implementation points, or with reference to the referral engine? Do you think that it's something that's going to help you as you're in this, can I call it a transition phase? Are you transitioning? Okay, yeah. Copywriter wise, Justin Blackman is transitioning.
It's an evolution. Let's go with that.
Yeah, it's an evolution. That's a better word.
But yes, there's not a simple, clean-cut answer for this. You can't just be like, oh yeah, Justin does this. Boom. So if you were to refer me, you can't describe that. And that's the challenge that I'm having with referrals, people who go through my business. It's not like, oh, he wrote a great website for me, or my landing page improved, my conversions went up, or I got better AI copy. What I do is intense and it's deep and it's personal, and it's really hard to convey that secondhand. Whoever you're telling will be like, oh, that sounds interesting. And then you go to the website and it's talking about the service and be like, I don't know if I need that. There's no easy way to convey what I do unless you hear me talk about it, because it's going to be a longer answer. So that is the challenge. So for you asking for referrals, yes, I do think that the book has not been as immediately impactful for me as I was hoping, to just like, show people my service, be like, hey, anyone who needs this. But it has been helpful in making me understand my value is just not easily explained. And that's not a great business platform. You confuse, you lose. Sometimes I lose. But getting me into it, where I get a chance to talk about the depth and the details, that's my home. That's where I live. Getting more opportunities to do that is something I will always take. And people are kind of like, I don't know what the answer is, but he seems to have it. It's not going to be short. It's not going to be easy. But if you want him to talk to you, he will. That's kind of how I position it.
Well, we don't have to always have quick or easy wins on the Tried It podcast. And Nicole and I were talking before about how it's been, again, evolution for us, small changes over time. But I think I can see flavors of the referral engine principles in what you're saying. It's just dressed in a more complex, multi-layered sauce.
Yeah. I wish it was as easy as like, oh, hire him for a landing page. It's just not what I do.
Yeah. And maybe I'll give you a 10% kickback or whatever. No, that's, that would be nice, but we've moved beyond that.
Yeah. I have spoken to some people about the referral, the kickbacks and things like that. And I'm happy to do that. But most people are like, that's not what I'm doing it for. That's not their primary motivation. And I know in the book, it absolutely can be. And there are referral systems and affiliates and things like that. And I have some of that for my courses. But as far as my services, that has yet to be a driving motivator for anyone.
Yeah, fair enough. Maybe that goes back to his point about people get this innate reward from being the connector person, from being like, I'm the one who knows, and also the dopamine of like, oh, it's great that I get to help you and I can see you succeed and you're my friend and I want that for you.
Yeah. That's really been the thing. The intrinsic reward has been more valuable than the monetary one for my connections.
Well, that's important to know too. You gotta tap into what gets people going.
How about you guys?
Let's pass over to you, Nicole, then. If you could recap your 3 implementation points for us and then tell us how it's gone.
It feels like a very hard act to follow, but I will do my best. So my first one was to really dig deep and explore my talkable difference, because I was in the process of pivoting and I have launched my new website. And I really wanted to, but it doesn't feel like a woohoo, but yes, woohoo.
It is a woohoo.
Yeah, but anyway. I launched my website and I wanted to dig deep and find my talkable difference. to see how I stand out and how I can like really own my space. And I think it was kind of staring at me all along. Like it's not completely fleshed out, but what came to me
was inside you all along.
Exactly. So the thing is, like Dear Abby, but for copywriting, this is my talkable difference, which I know sounds very bizarre. But basically that's cool. It. Like it's this idea of this like gossip rag, kind of like pushing the asset, which is the email like list, but also the therapy component, where it works on two levels. This idea of like exploring the psychological behind the scenes stuff that has people stuck as writers and as copywriters under this big label of like Dear Abby, but for copywriting. So it's
that sounds great.
It's conceptual. Like there's nothing beyond that. But I was just kind of trying to find a concept. I went on this rabbit hole of like checking into rehab for copy, this kind of stuff. And I'd written it on my website, and I came back to it and I felt like that's what really works. So I'm trying to just make some of the copy tighter and make the concepts maybe stronger, because some of it is a bit, still in my head. But yeah, I think that's where I've landed with that point.
Do you think that goes back to what John was saying in the book about like, the difference with how you see your business versus how other people see it?
Definitely. Like I think there's a huge gap. And I think that's essentially, I feel like what copywriters wrestle with is trying to bring a concept to life as accurately as possible. And I feel like there is this gap between like what I envision and like what I want to create and like what I've breathed into the world. And I feel, which is like what I really like about what we're doing in this podcast, is like it's experimental. It's something that we're testing, so it will evolve. But I think like coming back to the book, one of the concepts in the book is, and it's something that you touched on, Justin, is like that to make something referable, it needs to be easy to understand. It needs to be something that's people get quite quickly. I feel like my stuff, it is easy, but it's not as complicated as yours. But there isn't a clear label, so I'm trying to work on that to make it definable and to give people something they can hold on to and like easily define. And also my concern is showing the value, because it sounds very fluffy. If I say I'm offering you copy therapy, that sounds very fluffy, and like I don't know how to show people the value of that. So I don't know if that answers the implementation task, but that's more of a thought experiment. And my other point was to work on, I called it an onboarding universe, which would then build referrals into it. So as part of onboarding a new client, I would somehow ask for a referral into that. So I started setting it up. It's something I've set up on Notion, and it has a video, like I don't have any clients for this new service, so there are no clients that have tested it. But as part of it, I'm building in a section where I ask people like if they know of anybody who would benefit from copy therapy. And my other offering was to pitch like related services. So for example, like female coaches or entrepreneurs, which I didn't do because it's far too premature. But because I'm still doing copywriting, I actually asked for referrals for copywriting. And technically on the surface,
over a call or by email or
over a call. So I networked with somebody who I've written content for quite a while, on and off. And I was just, do you know anybody who would need website copy? And they referred me to somebody who's in a similar space. Like I've been writing clean tech copy for them, and they referred someone in that space. And it actually went really badly. Like the call went well, but it wasn't a fit because I've moved on from there. So again, it hammered home the point of not every referral is a right referral. Not every client is the right client. But I think I get a point for asking for a referral. I really feel like I do.
You do? Yes. For saying the words out loud.
Yeah, it was painful. I didn't enjoy it. But, it's always good to, it's always good to meet new people and to see what their pain points are. It always fascinates me how people who are not copywriters see copy, and especially in the clean tech space where I was writing for a lot of time, and how they just paste the words here. I just need some words here and like just some stuff here. And you're like, I don't have time to educate you. And it's not my role. But there's such a lack of understanding of the skills we bring to the table and our understanding of the user journey and the user experience and this world that we create for them. It really makes me sad. Anyway, Sarah, I would love to hear, how your implementation tasks went and what you found, because I know you were up to all sorts of exciting things as well.
So my implementation points, I think I'm going to start with the most successful. My first implementation point was to be able to refer other people, or to be referred. You have to have a good idea of what these people can actually do. And I took this idea of being informed enough to be able to refer other people, and I have turned it into a spreadsheet, which I have to say it myself, I'm quite pleased with it. So it started essentially with a post on LinkedIn when I asked other people in my particular niche, which is podcasting, if they wanted to be referred. And I asked them for some basic information, including their name, website address, email address. And I also asked them for their USP, or how they would describe their services in their own words. So I think that it was a good exercise to do, in that the post went pretty well. I connected with quite a lot of different people. It was interesting to hear people describe their services in their own words, because there's a lot of overlap. For example, I had a number of people in video editing for podcasters get back to me, and the way that they described their services was quite different. So it's nice to have that information directly from them. I literally just copied and pasted what they said in their message into the spreadsheet. But as I was going through it and filtering it later, it made me think that if I have clients like this in the future, I can really say, okay, I think that this is the person for you, not this person. Fun little thing with the post was that I actually tagged author of the book, John Jantsch, in the post, and he commented and replied, which was fun.
It's incredible.
Thanks, John. Yeah, he and I are LinkedIn connections now. I guess we're best friends. Reach on, let me know, John. So that, I would say, was successful and something that I will repeat in the future, because obviously things evolve, things change. So I could see me putting the word out maybe once every 6 to 12 months to say, there's space on my sheet, or maybe if you're already on there but you've changed your offering, just get back in touch, because I've also got a field in there for accurate as of when. So it'll be a nice way for me to have a bird's eye view of the industry. And also it made me realize it's not a bad thing to be known for, that this is something that you're doing. If all it serves for is actually a publicity thing for me, that's fine too, guys.
You're hardcore, Sarah. I'm like super impressed.
I mean, hardcore in that I made a color coordinated spreadsheet. So by some definitions, not very hardcore. But
no, but I can see this like going places. No, I was going to ask you, did this generate conversations with these people? Did networking come from this? I could see this opening all sorts of doors.
I definitely had some interesting replies from people who reached out and messaged me, who I've been messaging back and forth since then. So in terms of concrete results, as in money, clients, no, but I think that there are leads in there. And if you did the reciprocal thing of, okay, well, it's cool that you're doing this, tell me about you so that I can refer you out. So I would say it's good for opening doors. I will definitely carry on doing it. I've got a note somewhere in something that I've written on that it'll be a post that I'll rerun maybe towards the end of the year, see who else I get on there, what's changed. It's also it's a fairly easy win. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't stretch myself with that implementation point, but the effort reward ratio skews more in favor of reward.
That's it. Yeah, that's awesome.
Sometimes the best things are the easiest. So
yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it doesn't have to be.
Sweet.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be like, crazy reach to be a win. It's a win,
It's a win, yeah. So that was my referral engine inspired connection spreadsheet. My second implementation point was the product handbook idea, which Jantsch mentions in his book as a way to make your business stand out, that you're showing your customer that you really care, that you're not just delivering them the thing that you said that you would deliver. You're delivering it with some sort of guidebook or whatever format it takes, saying this is how you make the most of the thing that I've just given you. I've got quite a lot of ideas down for this. It was an interesting evolution for me. I had it essentially as just a tab up, a document that I was typing ideas on as they came into my mind as I was working on other things. I resisted the temptation. Nicole has this too. I don't know if you're guilty of this, Justin, that whenever you have a new idea for your business, you're like, what this really needs is for me to spend hours on graphic design, which is neither my passion nor my interest. But let me play around. Let me play around on Canva. Yeah.
Hold on. Let me overthink this.
Yeah. And it's just like, well, I couldn't possibly launch this without a logo because every business has a logo. So there was part of me that started going down that road. And then I was like, no, Sarah, stop. Don't go down graphic design maze. So for that reason, it has stayed I guess, a loose document, but I think it's better that it's more ideas focused at the moment rather than me creating something that looks really beautiful on Canva but has literally no information inside it at all. And again, I think it's an iterative thing. I will get to a point where I think, okay, this is enough. This is enough information. Now I can beautify it. But I think that it'll be something that will need regular updating. It's going to be an ongoing process.
So is this something when you start working with a new client they'll receive? Like at what part of the process will they receive this document?
I am seeing this as when I hand over the deliverables, it's a document that goes with the deliverables. Right. Probably in the first round, I'm seeing it as this is how we can talk about revisions, so guidelines for that. But then also at the point at which I've stepped away, how they can, for example, check metrics for themselves, check that things are working if they didn't buy a package, where I'm keeping an eye on their metrics on their email funnels for them, and how they can take care of their emails going forward. For example, if I wrote them a welcome sequence and then they're taking care of their weekly or monthly emails for their podcast after that, how they can keep things aligned in terms of tone, brand voice, content.
And then would that have like a built-in referral ask or not? Is that like too much of a reach?
It might do, yeah. I was really seeing it more as a practical thing that I hope that the client would get and think, wow, this is really useful, and it's made something that seemed valuable to begin with even more valuable. But you're right, there is a space in there to close that loop. So yeah, that is a good point.
It was just a question because I have something similar when I submit copy. I have like a kind of like inspired by kind of university days, like a cover page, which is designed that it has all the stuff like how to use the document and valuable little snacks throughout the piece and like that kind of thing. So I was just thinking maybe like there's room there as well for building in some sort of referral thing, although that might not be the place.
I will think about it. As I said, it's slightly a work in progress document. And once it's on Canva and it's all done nicely, I'm going to be sharing it with you. And my final implementation point was one that you did, Nicole, which was asking a client out loud on a call for a referral, which I mean, I didn't get other clients from it. I was able to say the words out loud, which was a win, I suppose, in terms of having done it, but looking through the more concrete angle of results, haven't got any results. So I'm kind of taking the L on that one.
Yet. You haven't gotten results yet.
Okay, important caveat. Thank you, Justin.
Right.
It reminded me of the book that we read in season 1, Nicole, Story Brand, where Donald Miller suggests that you need to have that introduction for your business of who you help and how you help them, that kind of thing. And I went to this conference and I'd practiced my little business mini spiel thing to myself, but I hadn't practiced saying it to other people. I think that sometimes when you're saying things out loud to other human beings, you've just got to say it and you can't beat around the bush about it. And I think with the referrals things, there was a bit of bush beating. You know, it was grouse season.
Comes with practice. This is actually the stuff that AI is good for. It's like, hey, here's what I do. Can you help me come up with a tight elevator pitch? Or there are a couple different chatbots for that. I know Kevin Rogers has a 60-second sales hook that's useful for that. But there's a bunch of different ways of just, you can even just like speak, now that like chat and Claude have the text to the speaking function. Even just talking into it, it's like, can you help me figure out what I do so I can tell people easily? I mean, obviously a copywriter or a brand voice specialist or some type of messaging strategist is going to be able to do it better. But if you're just looking for a simple version to do it for yourself, sometimes AI is really good for that.
I think I have those things nailed down in my head. I think I will go and use the AI tools that you recommended. The 60-second sales pitch one sounds interesting. It's literally the saying it out loud thing. I think I need to see actual humans and practice asking them. So, I mean, I did do it. I didn't chicken out. Wasn't the best experience.
How did the other person respond? How did they receive the request?
Mild surprise, which is probably nobody's best reaction. I mean, obviously it wasn't like, oh no, I would never do that. But sometimes it's hard to read people. Like when it's a client, it's somebody that you know a little bit, but you don't know them incredibly well. But yeah, she was like, oh yeah, I'll think about it. And then in the follow-up email that I sent to the call, I recapped that point too, and then that's as far as it's gone. So those were my 3 implementation points. I am curious, opening it to either of you, is there a particular kind of person, a particular kind of copywriter who would benefit from reading the referral engine or from implementing any of the points that we've just discussed?
I mean, personally, I think that anyone with a business would benefit from it because there is some takeaway. There's going to be, no matter who reads it, at least 30% of the book isn't going to be applicable. That's fine. That's an approach. I could see ecom writers doing well with a referral sequence, like a post-purchase referral thing. That might be something that you can create for a client. For service-based business, it's tough for me to say that this is the best. I mean, it absolutely can work. There are examples of it that work very well in the book. But I guess what I'll say is I don't think anyone would suffer from reading this book.
Well, we're all about avoiding suffering in copywriting.
Yeah. I think I wouldn't say it's a must read for any copywriter. I say it's a should read.
That's an interesting distinction.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's an interesting top up to your marketing arsenal. And I would also add that I think it would be good for people who have a very well-defined, very clear offering, like we discussed. And I think then it's easier to maybe make the ask or to put yourself in a box and for people to understand exactly what you do and how they can help you. Because there's a whole thing in the book about how people want to help you. And I think things that are more like what Justin's doing, potentially difficult to explain or more conceptual, might be harder or potentially less applicable aspects of it.
It definitely helped me identify some gaps that I have, and trying to figure out how to plug them is the challenge. The book has instructions on that, but I haven't quite figured it out yet. I'm still plugging the holes, but I think that it can work right now.
Well, maybe we can check back in with you in a couple of months and see if you've made some progress from where you are now.
Yeah, I've got a couple of the talks lined up, so that would be a good test.
Yeah, that would be interesting to see how they go, what kind of follow-up you get from that, if that leads to more talks or straight to clients. I guess the proof of that particular pudding is in the eating.
There you go.
Right. So with that said, I think that we are closing out on The Referral Engine by John Jantsch. Again, if you are curious to read it after our recommendations, you will find the link to it in the show notes down below. And we would recommend that you do so. It is definitely an interesting read. It's an encouragement to be more sales focused about your business. And as somebody who, I'm speaking on behalf of myself here, gets really into the technical and the theory side, sometimes you need a gentle reminder that you are here to make money.
Yeah, no, it's true. And to think about systems that can actually do that.
Yeah, building them systems in right from the start.
Yeah, that's so true.
And also, if we're talking about systems, that links to sustainable growth for your business, which is something that we discuss a lot in the Tried It membership, right, Nicole?
Yeah, so if you like our podcast, you'll love our membership. It's a weekly newsletter, comes out on a Tuesday, where basically we take all the lessons and reflections and things from the books that we read, and we offer you weekly exercises and prompts to actually work your copywriting skills and flex those muscles. It's an actionable take on copywriting, as opposed to just learning about copywriting. You're actually exercising your copywriting skills. And so that's a weekly email that we get from us, as well as different perks. And it's really the introduction to copywriting I had when I started writing about 15 years ago. So it's a really good opportunity to actually do copywriting as opposed to reading about copywriting or studying copywriting.
Exactly. Yes. It's a great way to grow your skills in a measured way. So if you're curious to know more about the membership, the link to our website, again, it's all in the show notes. If you have any questions about it, then send a message to Nicole or I, or our email address is also there, and we're pretty responsive. So that's everything for today. Thank you, Justin, so much for joining us. We know that it is a big ask to read a whole book, spend time working on it, and then come back and then talk about it with us again.
I'm glad to do it. I think I got more out of it this way than I would have if I just, read it on a treadmill or something.
And
perfect. Excellent.
And we'll include links to all your stuff in the show notes as well, Justin.
Excellent.
Yes.
This has been fun.
Yes. It's been super fun, and it's going to be the last episode in season 2. So I think that this is a great way for us to close out the book reading phase of the season, but there will be a little episode following afterwards where Nicole and I share our thoughts on the whole of season 2. So stick around for that one.
Thanks, Justin.
So thank you, Justin. Thanks, Nicole, for being here. Thanks to John for the book. And take care, guys. And we will speak to you soon. Bye.